Hello friends, today we are discussing Quartulain Hyder's novel River of Fire. River of Fire is basically an Urdu novel. It is written in Urdu and later it was transcreated by the writer herself, the writer Quartulain Hyder. So the River of Fire is a very famous novel by Quartulain Hyder, and it is a long novel. It tells us a story which begins in 4th century to the post-independence period, means around 1956 in India and Pakistan, because at that time India and Pakistan were one country till 1947, and the story goes up to 1956, means post-colonial era. The novel was basically liked by the people when it was written in Urdu, and when it got transcreated in English by the writer herself, it came to be more popular and was translated in many other languages also. A journalist, Kamal Hassan, says that the River of Fire tells us a complete story, a complete and systematic version of 2,500 years of history of modern day India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, beginning in Nanda dynasty and ending in the post-partition despair. Friends, in this work, Hyder traces the fates of 4 major characters, though there are not only 4 characters, there are many other characters also. But mainly the story revolves around these 4 characters, and these 4 characters are Gautam, Champa, Kamal and Cyril. These are the 4 characters around whom this story moves. Like the 4 characters in the novel, we have 4 Indian epochs through which the story travels. The story travels in these 4 periods, and they are classical period, then medieval period, then colonial period, and after that post-colonial period, as I have already told you that it goes to 1956 even, a long period in Indian history. So in the beginning of the novel, Gautam appears as a student of mysticism, and he is studying in a university, the Forest University of Sravasti in 4th century BC, 4th century BCE or BC you can say, before Christ era or before Christ you can say. Among the major female characters is Champa, who is present in the novel right in the beginning, and she is also present at the end of the novel. This is same Champa, same name, but not the same person, because no one can live for 2,500 years. But a different person with same name, and she is the great granddaughter of the same person. So after so many years, she appears in the novel once again. So this is a very complex kind of structure of the novel, in which the same character after 2,500 years appears in the end also. She stands for the enigmatic experience of women in India, women who have been target of male ire, and they have experienced many bitter experiences, and she stands for all these women. Apart from these characters, who are almost all of them are Hindus, we have Muslim characters also. There is Kamal, and he appears in the novel midway, just like the Muslims who came to India. If we look at history, then we find that Muslims came midway, and after that came the Britishers, and just like the Muslims who came midway, and they disappeared, and after that the Britishers took over. Similarly, this person Kamal comes midway, and loses himself in the Indian landscape. Apart from this, there is an Englishman. His name is Cyril Ashley. Cyril Ashley is an Englishman, and he appears later, and he disappears in the post-colonial period, just like the British who disappeared from India after post-colonial period. So these characters appear and reappear in different births, different reincarnations, and they are found in different ages. The stories crisscross over different eras, forming and reforming their relationships in romance and war, in possession and dispossession. The novel has 4 different plots with different sets of characters, but their names are the same, and they come in different epochs. Towards the end of the novel, it is revealed that the characters appearing in the post-partition era, as I told you earlier, around 1956, they are the great-grandchildren of those characters who appeared in the colonial era in the 19th century, in the beginning of the 19th century. These are the same characters. Now, one of the major issues in the novel is that there is essential oneness of human nature. Human nature never changes. It remains the same. It was the same in the 4th century, and it is same in the post-colonial era. And all human beings are essentially one. There were various nations, there were various religions, and we human beings cannot be divided despite division of the countries, despite there are national and international boundaries between the nations. Despite several upheavals, Indian culture could not be destroyed. There were so many invasions, and despite all these invasions, Indian culture could not be destroyed. We have seen it. And Hyder argues for this culture, which is inclusive. And shortly before partition in the novel, the character Kamal, he wonders, the Indo-Muslim lifestyle is made up of the Persian, Turki, Mughal, and regional Rajput Hindu cultures. So what is this Indianness? What is this Indianness which the Muslim League talks about? They have started questioning, he asks. And could there be an alternate India? Why? He asks a question. Here, Hyder gives us a better sense of the day-to-day life and general feel of India across the pages of the novel. However, setting of the novel for most of the time remains that of northern India, Lucknow and other parts. Some of these parts are in Pakistan now, and some of them are in India. And there are episodes as whole of the picture is of 2,500 years. And it is not possible to cover a story of 2,500 years in a single novel. So it is sure that there are episodes, and there have to be episodes. The novelist, Quartulain Hyder, she succeeds in maintaining balance while discussing the religious difficulties between the Muslims and Hindus in India, in Mughal as well as in the modern times. Now, the Englishman Cyril Ashley represents the Britishers. He is a representative of the Britishers who exploited Mother India, and they exploited Mother India, though they said that we are here to civilize the people, but actually they exploited India for their personal gain. They had no feeling or love for India or its people, and the Englishman Cyril Ashley appears as an intruder, just like the English people who appeared as intruders in India, and later on they took the political reins of India in their hands. They came in the form of merchants, in the form of East India Company, and just like the Britishers who intruded India, this person Cyril Ashley also intrudes. In the novel, his relationship with Sujata in the colonial period can be compared to the relationship of East India Company and the Indian people, because he uses Sujata for his lust. He does not give her any rights. In order to bear children, Ashley has married an English woman, and just to satisfy his lust, he has used Sujata and various other Indian women. Now, Cyril married Sujata, but he did not give her rights, as I said earlier. And when he broke away from her, he left her in lurch. He did not give her anything and moved to Lucknow after his transfer. And at this juncture, Sujata comes to know that in Lucknow, where he goes, there is a woman named Champa. And this Champa is a dancer, and people are fond of her. And this man, Ashley, is definitely her friend, and he will go to her. So she sends a message. Sujata sends a message through the personal secretary of Ashley. He is Gautam, and through Gautam she sends a message to Champa, and she warns Champa that this man Cyril is an exploitative kind of person, but Champa fails to understand her warning. She doesn't want to understand. She says that when I was suffering, who was there to listen to me? Now, since Ashley is a powerful person, and if I have a relationship with her, or if I get support from him, then people are questioning. And when I was suffering, nobody was. Means this is a kind of issue which highlights how we Indian people are divided, and how we were divided during the colonial era. People, they were fighting among themselves, most of the kings as well as common people, they were fighting among themselves, and the Britisher took this to their own advantage, and they divided and ruled people of India for around 200 years, British people. And this man, Cyril Ashley, is a true representative of the British. Not only they ruled the people, taking support from their policy of divide and rule, rather they also ended India. Before going away, they made it in two parts. They divided, they separated. The partition of India of 1947, Pakistan and India became two countries, and this the Britishers did. If we talk about the style of Quartulain Hyder, then we find that this is very artistic. This novel is artistically woven, and the novel River of Fire, which was basically an Urdu novel, Aag Ka Darya. This is available on internet in Hindi as well, in Hindi, in Urdu, and in English. So, River of Fire, Aag Ka Darya, has a magisterial ambition and technical resourcefulness, which is rarely seen in Urdu fiction. Urdu fiction is not very popular, and Hyder employs diverse genres. Since the period is 2,500 years long, so there are letters and chronicles and parables and journals and whatnot. There are so many genres to present her melancholy vision of corrosions of the time. How people came and they exploited India. How interpersonal relationships developed, got destroyed, owing to one or the other reason. Now, Amer Hussain described the style of River of Fire as lyrical and witty, occasionally idiosyncratic. It is always alluring and elusive, this critic says, Amer Hussain. And the novel has a circular structure, because if you look at the novel, then you will find that right in the beginning we have characters like Nirmala and Champa and Gautam. All these characters are present in the end of the novel also, and the story where it begins when Gautam is going to a university. Similarly, at the end of the novel, he is also going to some university for attending a conference, and at a similar note the novel ends. That is why we can say that it has a circular structure. It ends in a very similar way as it began, and Gautam and Hari, who meet in a jungle in the end of the novel is quite similar to what we saw in the beginning of the novel. And this man Gautam, he goes to Taxila University for attending a conference, and there he sees a woman who is very much similar to Nirmala. Nirmala was a character whom we met in the beginning of the novel. If you have read the text or you have gone through the story, then you can definitely see that Nirmala is present in the beginning of the novel. So, thus the novel presents history of India of 2500 years, and it has been woven in a very complex manner. People of India through different ages, classical, medieval, colonial, post-colonial ages. And this is success of the novelist. Though writing a novel in Urdu is a big challenge, that Quartulain Hyder, she is a scholar from Delhi and has been an alumnus of Indraprasth College, which is very close to the interstate bus stand, near the bus stand, you can say. So that is a very good college, and she studied there in Indraprasth College. Quartulain Hyder, now she is no more. She died in 2007. And this novel, what she has left behind, has made her immortal. It highlights Indian culture and presents a realistic picture not only of India through these 2500 years, but also a picture of real human beings, their problems, their issues. Thank you very much.